are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That is Evo, and we are back. It is early on a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. I am still drinking my very first cup of coffee with one of my new favorite quotes on it. Ted Lasso, appreciate you. Be curious, not judgmental. I cannot say that will be the way today's show goes because there's going to be some judgments flying, especially when we talk about college football today. But, man, I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to go. I'm decked out in my Ohio State shit. Evo, how was the week? How's the weekend? Are you rocking an old school, what looks like a starter jacket? Because that thing looks impressive the way you're sitting right now.
No, it's last year's Super Bowl. God damn it.
Okay.
Yeah, last year's Super Bowl little top that the old lady got me when we went up for the Super Bowl experience in Phoenix.
Very nice.
But I've not had coffee yet. I don't actually have coffee in the house. I opted for an energy drink and Liquid Death, my normal go-to. But speaking of coffee cups, there's one that I've been wanting to get that's super plain and simple. It's just, white cup, black lettering on it. Join the army, meet interesting people, and then kill them. I really want that cup. I feel like it'd be good for having at work because that's about the only place that it would be socially acceptable, probably.
Yeah, probably. I can't see that there being too many more circumstances where that cup is going to get a lot of play, but I do respect it quite a bit, actually. We're going to talk a little. There's going to be some more military elements to today's show, a little bit, anyways, because of Connor Stallions, friend of the Michigan Wolverine football program.
Maybe
apparently a Marine.
Maybe not anymore.
Yeah, we don't know how that whole story is playing out, but man, it's good to be here. We are doing this super, super early. I know most people are not used to having us on this early, all of this thickness coming right at you. But hey, time to wake up, bitches. And by the way, tomorrow your clocks go back, so just get ready for that, unless you live in Arizona.
Yeah, and in years past, I mean, we used to do the Sunday morning show, before all the games. So we would knock all this shit out before the games happen, so that we get your up to date, betting stuff. If you wanted to put in your bets right before the games with the most up to date information. But yeah, it's 7:00 here on the dot.
Early,
actually not on the dot. It's 7:04, but it's early for me. But
on the dot, I'm in my top drop, cruising the streets. Yeah, let's
go.
Need a
crack rock.
Oh.
I don't. No, I've been up early because the lady had to get up, go to work, and then I was telling you before the show, I had some hot nuggies last night, and I've just been shitting straight hot lava out of my butthole. So I'm up, ready to go, which is why you got the early text this morning saying, "Hey, when do you want to do the show?" Because I'm up and Daddy's got a fucking fiery balloon knot right now. He's ready to fucking do it.
Oh man, that is a tough way to start any day. But I mean, you said the nuggies were good, right?
They were good. They're just like random generic Walmart nuggies that said spicy on it. And if something says spicy, I'm intrigued because I like spicy. So did that, and they weren't bad at least not out of the air fryer. I was we were hungry, so I popped like 5 into the microwave first, and those were just, kind of your average microwavable nuggies, like kind of dog shit. But the air fryer, crisping them up, that's the way to go. And these are hard-hitting pieces of information that you only get on the Lineman Lounge. So,
absolutely.
Walmart nuggies in the air fryer is the way to
go. Nuggies in the air fryer, period, is the way to go. Just because I don't want my nuggies soft. I need a little crisp. But man, without further ado, are we ready to get off of nuggie talk and start talking about some sports? Because we're gonna have to do that very quickly. At some point, you might have to take over because, like I said, it is early in the morning. I just had my first cup of coffee and have not yet had my morning ritual. So let's get this thing started, and then we'll see how far we get before I got to make a run upstairs.
All righty, sounds good.
All right, let's do this. So we're going to start with baseball. The world of baseball is an interesting place. Always at the end of the year, a lot of teams upset, a lot of teams trying to figure out what they're going to do next year. And typically there's always one team that comes out and wins everything, and it kind of makes sense. People this year are not happy, though, that the Rangers are now the World Series champions. They were able to get that done in 5 games, and they looked really good the entire way through. They go out, they spend money, but I think that's what a lot of people don't like. This is a team that lost over 100 games not too long ago, just a few, 3 short years ago. They were losing over 100 games. They go out and they spent a shitload of money. They bring in extra talent, and they bring a World Series title back to their fans. Fans all throughout the baseball world are unhappy with that because this is like reminiscent of the 2000 Yankees. But if you're a fan of that team, you got to be ecstatic. Fuck that money. It ain't mine. Fuck them picks. Let's go out and win a title. So, Evo, how are you feeling about the Rangers getting the World Series title, first one in their history, and the way they go about it?
I mean, I personally have no problems with any of it. Like from one franchise fan here who has not had, a championship with Vikings in the Super Bowl, to see another franchise go out and get their championship. I'm happy for them. Like I like the parody in it. I don't really care that they went out and spent money. Like that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like the intention of every team is to go out and win the championship every year if they can. And of course, I believe secondary to that is the franchise dynasty type of situation where like you're able to have multiple years of that success. But like the ultimate goal is you're focusing on this season. Like the coach, the players, they want to win this year, not next year or 3 years down the line. So like how you go about it, as long as it's legal, like who cares? Like they got the job done. So congrats to the Rangers. I mean, they went against the Diamondbacks here in Arizona. We had a bunch of people I know getting tickets and stuff going up to see Diamondbacks play. And I can tell you this, like Arizona fans weren't upset. Like in general, everyone is bummed that the Diamondbacks lost down here, but everyone's like, we got way further than we ever expected. This was fucking awesome. Like got people being like, I got to take my kid to a World Series game. That's fucking awesome. Like, don't really care that they lost. So, I mean, fuck it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, listen, if baseball doesn't like the way this played out, where the Rangers go out and spend $500 million over the last couple of years, and they win a title, there's one way to fix it: put in a fucking salary cap, put in restrictions that prevent this from happening. Because these billionaire owners don't give a shit about the luxury tax if it means that they're going to win the title. Because now they have made good on all of that money that they just spent. That's all that matters to them. They have made good on that money.
Yeah.
So if you don't like that, fucking enforce something that won't allow that to happen. Enforce a salary cap, but that will absolutely never happen. Because if they were to do a salary cap, I am certain that the MLB Players Association is going to also demand a salary floor, so you won't have your teams like your now soon to be Los Angeles A's, or I'm sorry, your Las Vegas A's. They're not going to be able to spend $27 million on an entire squad that wouldn't even pay for Mike Trout's entire salary. I don't know if it will ever happen, but that's the way. If you don't like it, that's the only way to fix this problem.
Yeah.
So,
and yeah, like you said, it's not going to happen.
It'll never happen because they'll demand a salary floor as well. And MLB owners are notorious for not spending money, especially if you're in a small to mid market. Guardians are a perfect example of that, who I hope go out and spend some money specifically on Cody Bellinger this offseason. I just don't foresee that happening, even though I really badly want that to fucking happen.
Right. All right, but yeah, congrats to the Rangers. Good on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, great season, guys. You got it done. The money was was well spent. Congratulations. But let's move off of baseball. Let's move over into college football. And we're going to start with the primary topic on what's going on with college football. Everybody is talking about this. This is the Michigan situation with sign stealing and Connor Stallions. Michigan has apparently been caught red-handed on numerous occasions. From some of the reports that I'm seeing, that Purdue knows they're playing. Michigan is playing Purdue today. Purdue says that they for sure this happened to them. There are photos of Connor Stallions on other opposing sidelines, like a Central Michigan sideline, and the story continues to grow and grow and grow. If there wasn't an actual fire, the smoke would have died out. But this has been going on for 10 days now, and it just continues to get bigger and bigger. The story's not going anywhere. I mean, Michigan cheated, right? This is what it looks like.
It's what it looks like. Yeah. Then we again had a long discussion here before the show about the whole situation. Like, I was confused. I assumed that college football, that they were still using headsets and stuff like that, like in the NFL. Apparently not, which, actually brings into play the necessity of sign stealing. Not that it's a necessity, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, the necessitation for having someone to steal signs if you're trying to cheat that way. Look, it doesn't look good. It definitely looks like Michigan was involved with this, and Connor Stallions was one of the guys. I saw a report that Michigan has fired him.
Yes. I also saw a report that Connor resigned his position.
Yeah, so who knows exactly what's happening there. It's kind of tough. Like, he probably doesn't have an official position on the team type thing if this is actually what he's doing. So it's kind of tough to get fired from a position that doesn't exist. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they're not paying him, and it's not like he didn't have a position if this is all truly the case. But you see a whole bunch of conflicting stuff out there too, saying, oh, the private investigators were part of, connected to Ryan Day's family, and that this is all a plant and stuff like that. Like, we don't really know. The NCAA has a lot of shit to work through right now and look through. It all just seems kind of silly and clandestine for college football, man.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. It is overly clandestine for college football. Like, there are some things that will happen in college football, some shady things that has been since basically the inception of college football.
You mean the NCAA? Bunch of shady motherfuckers.
The NCAA they're absolutely shady. I'm not gonna. Yeah, don't apologize for that. That's 100% the fucking truth. They are shady. Finally players are starting to get paid, but there's always been something. There's always been some sort of weird things that have gone on behind the scenes, like shoe deals for basketball players to go to specific schools. Now we get the sign stealing allegation. The NCAA is rife with fucking controversy, and this is not something new. I am surprised though that the story has progressed as far as it has. I thought this would kind of go away, but it's starting to really build into there's a very strong possibility that Harbaugh is going to be gone. That he is going to either be fired or he's going to resign his position. Michigan could face some penalties this year. This is getting to a large scale, like, investigation operation, because this story will not go away. I remember back in the Ohio State Jim Tressel days when there was the tattoos. Is like, okay, this is a stupid, dumb story. Like, it's going to go away, but it never did go away. And because it never went away, Jim Tressel ended up losing his job at Ohio State, was suspended. There were players that were suspended at the college level and could never play again. Guys who tried to go on to the NFL. It was just a weird circumstance. And this is starting to really get that feel again for Michigan. Now, do I feel bad for Michigan and their fans? Absolutely not. Fuck Michigan. And their fans. I'm an Ohio State guy through and through, so I don't feel bad. But I thought it was interesting that this is still continuing to grow, and I'm going to take a slight shot at a guy that we both enjoy and enjoy their brand at Barstool, and Dave Portnoy. But Dave, it doesn't matter that he was a Marine, is a Marine, or however. That story is still fucking weird. Like, I think he's a Marine. And they're playing up the fact that he is a Marine, so stop talking about Connor Stallions like he's some bad guy. Being in the military does not preclude you from doing really shitty things. And I will say that as somebody who was in the Army and has done shitty things in the past. Like, that doesn't mean anything. We're allowed to have judgments on Connor Stallions and cheating. Doesn't make him immune for being a Marine.
Yeah, that's Look, I think what's going to be most interesting to come out of this is how quick can the NCAA and college football react? Because right now Michigan's undefeated, correct?
Yes. Undefeated,
Uh,
ranked, I believe, 4 in the country. Ohio State, number 1. Suck it.
so we're talking about college football playoff pretty soon here. Not that far in the future, as
Three
as far as far as timelines with it. If they want to impose some sort of penalty against them that would prevent them from getting into that playoff, they got to do it quick. And they have to get rock solid evidence quick. Otherwise, the grievances from Michigan are going to be outstanding. Like you're going to have college football fans being extremely upset if Michigan goes into this tournament and wins the whole damn thing. And then after the fact, they're like, oh, well, this is also the Houston Astros, and it is what it is, Yeah. Or they have to do something now, and probably do something now with less than enough evidence to really make it permanent and concrete. And then Michigan basically has to come out after the fact and say, hey, you stole our opportunity from us. How are you going to make this right? Like, it's a tough spot for the NCAA to be in. In general, I would assume that they are going to come down more so with a heavy hand than anything. Yeah. And because at the end of the day, NCAA is going to be like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Like,
that's exactly what I expect to happen. The NCAA will go over the top, do something wildly irrational, and Michigan fans will be upset, probably rightfully upset. But fuck them both. Fuck the NCAA and fuck Michigan. So I'm totally good with that being the outcome.
My biggest concern with this is how is it going to affect some of those recruits coming out of Michigan for the NFL, specifically a JJ McCarthy. He's being looked at as a Heisman candidate right now, having a really good year. He's a guy that is most likely going to be a mid to late first round pick, but could elevate himself up into the earlier part of the first round based on the rest of his play this year, especially in that college football playoff. If you start to have, suspensions and things like that, or denials of them being allowed into the college football playoff, that's really gonna make it difficult on his draft stock. I mean, I think he's put enough on tape that he's gonna, do well as far as the draft. Like, he's, in my eyes, he is a easy first round pick this year. But it's gonna really suck for a lot of those guys that, I mean, the players on the team aren't necessarily complicit in this. They might have no understanding of what's happening, but they're being affected because of where they decided to go to school, what program they decided to play for. And that really sucks. And like, it's going to cause a transfer portal mess.
If there is a suspension and they lose scholarships or anything like that, Michigan is fucked. They're going to have so many guys transfer out of there. And some of those guys will find homes at really good spots. Some of them won't. But we should not see any issue with guys getting transferred if they want to, and making sure that they are eligible to play next year based on possible sanctions that come down.
Yeah.
So that is good, but they are kids. If this comes down and Michigan has to fire coaches and all of those things, there's going to be a mass exodus from Michigan.
Yeah. And we already know that Harbaugh has flirted with NFL return. He did with my Vikings. There's already been talks. Look, if he gets shut down this year, I see like almost 100% that he's back in the NFL next season. There's going to be several teams. Yeah, there's going to be several teams that are going to need new head coaches. Whether, I mean, we say this every year, but I mean, like the Chargers, they could definitely use a new head coach down there. The Raiders, we already know. Yeah, we've kind of banged the table for a Jonathan Gannon replacement in Arizona, but based on their play this year, I'm not 100% positive what's going to happen there. But there's a lot of options, and I don't think that I think we'll have 4 to 5 head coach openings, I would assume. So Ron Rivera, Washington, I don't know if you'd want to go there or not.
I think that Ron Rivera is probably done, even if Ron Rivera, I think wants to be done. I think he's probably about to call it a career.
I mean, it'll be interesting tomorrow when Ron Rivera gets to the stadium and finds out that 2 of his defensive ends have been traded. But we'll get into NFL football, I guess, when we get into NFL football, because that's a whole conversation. But just the point being is that Harbaugh is not going to suffer from this too much regardless. Like, he probably will make out perfectly fine one way or the other. Reputation tarnished a little bit, but he doesn't give a shit. You look at Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer went and stepped on his crank in the worst way in the NFL.
Yeah,
and he's probably getting hired as Michigan State's head coach.
Possibly. Those are the reports I've seen. In Michigan, Urban stepped on his crank in multiple occasions. He stepped on his crank in Utah, at Florida, and then again at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then again with the Dolphins. Like, if you're a decent coach and you get your players to win, you'll get multiple chances, even if you do stupid things or shitty things. Harbaugh is a good football coach. I have no doubt in my mind that Harbaugh is a really, really good football coach. But he's probably going to have to, I think he's going to have to move on. And the NFL makes a logical sense to me to get back in. Chargers, you brought them up. That makes a ton of sense. Quarterback that they know they have in place. And I think that Harbaugh would work really well in that situation. But there's a lot to play out, and things are going to have to happen very quickly, or nothing is going to happen. And that's going to possibly tarnish what the rest of the season looks like. So the NCAA is in a tough spot. Don't care. Fuck them. Michigan is in a tough spot. Don't care. Fuck them. Go Ohio State. Buckeyes need a big dub today against Rutgers.
The other kind of bigger games that we got going on, we got 23 Kansas State versus Texas. Is Quinn Ewers going to be starting this one?
So I don't know. I have not heard if Quinn. So he was banged up earlier in the week. I'll go ahead and pull it up now and see if we got any news. But if Quinn's not playing, Kansas State is definitely capable of going out and winning this game. Suffered his shoulder. Let's see if I don't see any news on Quinn. If Quinn doesn't play, though, are we going to finally start to see the beginning of the Arch Manning era? That's what I'm interested in, is if Quinn does not play.
I think that's what everyone is kind of watching. I don't know that people really care too much about this Texas team, even though like they've proven to be really good this year. They're just focused on the quarterback situation because it's future NFL prospects. Quinn Ewers getting talked a lot about being a higher draft pick this year, and just based on what he's put in the field this season. And then you have obviously Arch Manning, who's probably going to be a first round pick when he decides to make the jump to the NFL. So, honestly, it's kind of like, let's get Arch in there if he's ready for it. I guess he didn't look the greatest in spring ball, having to jump up to that college level, but you might as well start working the kid in to get stuff on film and get him.
Yeah, there's a changing levels there. I think Quinn, if he leaves Texas this year, could come out in the draft. He would go day 2, probably where I'd have him.
I think so. In most ratings that I've seen, he is somewhere like that. I think I've seen him as high as like the 5th ranked quarterback coming out in this draft, and definitely within the top 10 every time. And this is definitely a quarterback heavy draft where I feel like we could have up to 5 guys being taken in the first round, but definitely no later than a day 2 pick in my mind as of right now. Like once we get further into the evaluation process, which I've really tried to start to narrow down and hammer on my draft evaluation on quarterbacks, you could see him going, a little bit later probably. Like I'm not completely sold on him as an NFL level talent, but he'll be drafted.
Yeah, he'll definitely be drafted. So if he decides to continue playing his college career, Texas could be an option. They could look at the transfer portal again. I hope he doesn't transfer again. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, just come out if you're going to do that. Yeah.
Too many transfers. That you might as well come out and go in the NFL, because I feel like his floor probably ends up being a Gardner Minshew, not just on the hair, but in being able to be a backup level quarterback with maybe some spot start capability.
Yeah, I agree. But so this report that I'm finally seeing here, Quinn Ewers is expected to miss today's game with a shoulder injury. We'll see if we get any additional information on that before the game starts. Still got about an hour and a half before any of the college games start, and specifically that game. So we'll see. It could be the beginning of the Arch Manning era. And listen, Arch is going to be just fine. He looked tough in spring ball. It's the first time stepping up in competition.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to break things down. He's got a wealth of fucking assets around him at all times to help him study, analyze the game, the tapes, the offensive systems. He's got basically 2 fucking offensive coordinators as uncles. So he'll be just fine.
Other big games, we got Missouri and Georgia going down today. Number 12 Missouri versus
set alert right
Georgia.
here. Missouri can knock off Georgia. Georgia has not been fantastic this year. I like Missouri's chances to win this game. If I'm betting this game, Missouri plus the points is a
which is
great
15
bet.
right now.
Missouri plus the
15.
points is fucking fantastic right now. Georgia is a good team. They're ranked 2 in the country for a reason, but people have kind of slept on this Missouri team. I did for a while at the start of the year. They are very good. They are capable of beating Georgia. There's no way that they are fucking 3 scores worse than Georgia at a 15-point spread, though.
All right. And we also have number 9 Oklahoma, number 22 Oklahoma State going down.
Oklahoma needs a big bounce back, man.
Yeah.
They need to beat a rival.
Badly. And then
they
really
barely
good
knock off Texas, and they
a really good game if you are watching those NFL draft quarterback prospects. Number 5 Washington going up against number 20 USC. This will be interesting because Caleb Williams has shown that he is not just completely superhuman the past couple of weeks, and maybe that's partially the team around him and whatnot. But either way, USC has dropped a couple, and they've looked rough doing it. And then you have Penix out there in Washington, who is you like Michael Penix?
Old. He's just too old. I like his talent. I love his ability.
Look, Penix is going to be a first-round pick in my mind. Like,
agreed. Yes.
He'll probably be the 3rd or 4th quarterback off the board. Probably the 4th after Bo Nix. But I like you can't argue with the talent. It's not even an age thing for me. It's the 2 ACLs. That's scary. Yeah. That's scary.
It is scary.
But the guy has a hell of an arm. Look, both these guys, first-round pick quarterbacks, this is going to be really interesting to watch. You've also got some great receiving talent out there in Washington to watch that, first-round pick talent. So that should be a really fun game to watch. We got number 8 Alabama going against number 14 LSU. This feels like a fantastic game 5-6 years ago. And hopefully is getting back to that.
This smells like a stinker to me. Kind of a low-scoring game, defensive battle. We see that a lot when LSU and Alabama go against each other. And this year, but neither one of those offenses has been really prolific outside of, and I just forgot the kid's name, receiver from LSU, putting up some fantastic numbers. I cannot remember his name. I'll have to look it back up. But one of the guys
Neighbors.
Neighbors. That's it. Better numbers than Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's also getting a lot more opportunities than Marvin in terms of targets because I think that's their only guy down there at LSU. But some interesting talent. I don't see a lot of points being scored in that game. I actually have a same game parlay on that game. A lot of unders on yards.
All righty. But that's kind of what we're looking at for college football today.
Yeah. Big week. First CFP rankings came out. Ohio State number 1 in the CFP, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, Florida State 4. All of those teams still undefeated. Michigan and Ohio State will play each other at some point. We'll see how these rankings shake out. The last one is the one that really matters. But glad to see my boys getting some love. First week of the CFP, especially when I didn't think that we were going to be ranked that high. We need the Barry rankers today. We have not gone out there and been dominant on the offensive side of the ball. We've been very good on defense. We need to put up some fucking points today. Let's see if we can rattle that Shiano defense out there in Rutgers. I would feel very good as the season continues on, especially when we get to a Michigan team who plays very good defense. I wonder why, Connor Stallions. So we'll see what happens. Had to take one more shot at there.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it'd be the same thing if the Packers got caught doing something stupid. I mean, I shouldn't say doing something stupid. They do something stupid pretty regularly now.
They start Jordan Love on a
legal
weekly basis.
But all right, man, you ready to move on to our bread and butter, the NFL?
Hell yeah, let's do this.
All right, so we had our Thursday night game go down. We already made the picks for that, but we did allude to on that show that we were going to talk about some other big things that happened in the past week. You know, we went over the whole Raiders firing and all that, and probably have a little bit more discourse about how it's looking right now with that team going forward after the firings. But we had the trade deadline on Halloween. So a lot of trades went down. It seems like this year, last year, just been a shitload of trades happening. So I got a list here of our final major trades that have happened, at or before the deadline. You have Chase Young going from the Commanders to San Francisco for a compensatory third-round pick, which is great value for the 49ers, even on just a one-year rental if they want to, reuniting Bosa and Young from that Ohio State team. Montez Sweat also being traded from the Commanders to Chicago. This trade is being graded terribly by a lot of outlets. And I have to agree, honestly, like Montez Sweat, I think
bad for both teams as well, right?
Yeah. I like Montez Sweat. I think he's an all right defensive end. I don't know that he is like a cornerstone for your team. And I could have seen him being the one that stays with the Commanders because you could probably get him on a relatively cheap deal. In comparison to like a Chase Young, who has looked fantastic this year at coming off the injuries. But like Sweat's already basically said, like, I don't know if I'm resigning here. I want to, he said it very professionally nicely. I'm going to explore my options, which is a nice way of saying this team is pretty bad. And I don't know if I want to be handcuffed here unless you want to give me the bag. So interesting one there. Leonard Williams going from the Giants to Seattle, bolstering the Seattle defense, which has started to really look good in the past couple of weeks. Yeah. And now they bring in another good defensive line talent, a young defensive line talent. Apparently, Giants locker room was very upset with this.
That does not surprise me. Leonard Williams is an absolute stud. And they got, what was the compensation again? Second round pick, right?
Yeah. And he's a team leader on that defense. So punting on him right now. Wore the C
on his chest, I believe, for that team. I believe he wore the C on his chest. Team captain.
He might have, yeah. And look, that great get for Seattle.
Yeah.
Second round pick. It's, probably worth it for them in the long run. So good job for Seattle. And then obviously Giants, I mean, you need as many pivotal pieces as you can. You would think that you'd keep some of that. But, I mean, their strength is their defensive line, I guess. It's just all in kind of Kayvon Thibodeau now. Kevin Byard, we already tracked going to Philly. We have my Vikings sending Ezra Cleveland over to Jacksonville. He's been our starting left guard except for the past 2 weeks where we've started Dalton Reisner. Ezra had an injury. This was kind of a foregone. He was like one of the people that Minnesota fans that actually kind of pay attention to the team were expecting him to leave. He was on the last year of his deal. We drafted him as a tackle and have played him at tackle some and then moved him into guard pretty quick. He wants a chance to go out and play left tackle still and wants that left tackle money. He's not going to get a chance to play tackle on our team because we have two of the best tackles in football. And we're definitely not in a position to pay him bigger money. So he's been a average to above average interior guard at times in his career. He's a good get for Jacksonville, in my opinion. And he's being reunited with Phil Rauscher, old offensive line coach from us who's down there. So I'm fine with that because Dalton Reisner's actually looked pretty damn good for us, starting in replacement of him, if not better than Ezra. We also ended up going out and getting Josh Dobbs from the Cardinals for it. And preface this by saying I'm very happy with the Vikings trades. They didn't necessarily get us better. Ezra Cleveland isn't bad to have, but we weren't going to retain him after the year, so might as well get some for him. And then obviously the Vikings lost Kirk Cousins for the year, possibly might be his last in purple. So I had talks with you and whatnot about what the Vikings really need to do, and I was fine with us rolling with Jaren Hall, because it tells us one of two things: either our season is done and we get a higher draft pick, or Jaren Hall has a little bit of juice and maybe he's something to roll forward with going forward. Now I put that at like an 8% chance of that happening, but you never know. But bringing in Dobbs, Dobbs has definitely outperformed his expectations down there in Arizona this year with not the greatest talent, not the greatest coaching. Did some film breakdown watching him. JT O'Sullivan broke down his film as well and went through that. Dobbs is making some bad plays and some bad reads and whatnot, but JT was even commenting, you can't tell. This almost seems like system issues where they're telling him like, go with your first read type thing or not and take off. Either way, I like it because we basically got Dobbs for next to nothing. We got Dobbs in a 6th for a 7th that's conditional that goes up to a 6th possibly. Net trades between all this, we're coming away with at least one more pick next year. So I'm okay with that. Dobbs is a rocket scientist. You're going to hear that plenty.
Oh yeah.
The alopecia king. So I'm all for it. I like Dobbs. He's a good dude. Worst case, he can be a decent mentor of sorts to our young quarterback. But it kind of does spell a more than likely end of the season for my Vikings, which after the first 3 or 4 weeks was already kind of like expecting that.
Right.
They have turned much more into the team that I had hoped that they would be recently. So, I've actually got some high hopes for it, but it's not like I'm walking into a funeral like I kind of would have thought I would have been after you lose your starting quarterback. Either way, we can get more into that later. You have your Cleveland Browns trading off DPJ, Detroit, sending him back out to Michigan.
I wish that we wouldn't have done it, man. I like DPJ, especially because that was the only move we make. We sold off a player and didn't bring any assets in. Now, I don't know that we needed to bring in too many other things like wide receiver group. Sure. Could we use an extra guy if we get rid of DPJ? Maybe, but now this should give opportunities to guys who were not getting them before. So we'll see where our wide receiver group is at. Amari Cooper is still absolutely fucking fantastic for us. So he's our clear number one. We'll see if Elijah Moore gets a little bit more run. And then Cedric will hopefully take in a little bit more of that role that DPJ had. We'll see him start to kind of blossom. But we didn't make a move for a backup quarterback or a starting quarterback or just a quarterback in general, which was what frustrated me. Deshaun Watson is slated to start this week. We'll see how long he makes it into this game. We are playing the Cardinals, who have been scrappy, but have only won one game. And then we'll see how this works out, man. Our quarterback situation is very frustrating to me. I thought we were going to try to go maybe get Jacoby Brissett. There's also some rumors that we might try to go get a Terry McLaurin in a multiple player deal there, giving up some assets. So you get rid of a DPJ, you bring in a Jacoby Brissett and a Terry McLaurin. That pairs very nicely with Amari Cooper. It gives Deshaun time to sit and wait and not rush back. Not that I'm convinced that he's going to be all that good when he does get back. And Jacoby knows the system. Like that's really where I wanted to be. Just nothing materialized, and that kind of stinks.
That's the problem, is that like you guys are kind of really in a tough spot with Watson. Like that sucks because if you just bring Jacoby Brissett on this team, I feel immensely more positive overall on the rest of your season based on the
Same.
performances that we've seen him have. Like, it's so weird to say this now, but like I feel better about a team with Jacoby Brissett as the starting quarterback than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Like,
that's how I feel as well. I think that's how a lot of people in the Cleveland area are starting to feel. And that rift is just growing wider and wider. You got the pro Deshaun side and the anti Deshaun side, and there's nowhere in the middle.
yeah, but from a not head coach, but from a GM perspective and from an ownership perspective, like you can't punt on Deshaun this early, and bringing in a Brissett, while yes, he is a backup quarterback with starting level capabilities at times, like not high end, but
Right.
like that's essentially an indictment saying like, yeah, we have completely screwed the pooch, and no one wants to do that yet with Deshaun, even though the writing kind of seems to be on the wall. So like I am not surprised that you guys did not bring in Brissett or another quarterback in general because of this situation, even though just X's and O's, it makes sense
It makes a lot of
based
sense.
on the talent that you currently have on the team between, PJ Walker and DTR, who, still like DTR, but he's a fucking rookie. He needs time. Like Brissett is an easy backup to Deshaun Watson, if you want to call him that. But as of right now, he's probably a better starting option than Deshaun Watson as well. So they probably don't want to bring that sort of turmoil into the locker room and into the media and stuff like that. So it makes sense why they didn't do it, even though if you're serious about winning this year, it would have been the smart play.
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And there's a lot of people out here in Cleveland that would agree with you as well. But we are where we are. Listen, we're over 500 still. And we have had fucking DTR start a game and look terrible. And we have had PJ Walker start multiple games and not look good, but we found ways to win. Deshaun has looked really good in one game and basically terrible in every other aspect.
Yep.
Solid quarterback play is what we're looking for. We just can't find it. If we ever do, watch out, NFL. If we ever find a quarterback.
We also had Rasul Douglas get shipped off to Buffalo. A decent get for Buffalo there, who's, they've been littered with a bunch of injuries on their back end.
Yeah, man. They 2 years in a row, their secondary has just been fucking destroyed. And one of the reasons that they are kind of down bad right now, like they do not look like a very complete football team. It should give them a little bit of help. There were some other moves that I thought that they maybe could make, but they did go out, I believe, signed to a practice squad, Leonard Fournette, correct?
If not to the practice squad, to the actual squad. I know that they signed him in some fashion because he's been out there showing off them thighs, running around in practice for him. So, which is a good signing in my opinion. Like Fournette is not the world beater, but he knows what it takes to win championships. He's been on those sorts of teams, and he's a strong 1-2 punch kind of combo to a
I like the pairing. Yeah, I like the pairing of him and Cook. Cook is a little more your flashy guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield, a little more shifty. Fournette's the guy you need to line up and get you 1 fucking yard. So Josh Allen doesn't always have to be the guy that lines up and gets you 1 yard.
Yeah, and look, they got Latavius Murray as well, and I've been a fan of Latavius Murray through his career, but he's not that great right now, nor is he that
touchdown
thumper.
thief.
Yeah. He's not the thumper that Fournette will be, or the grinder. So like that's a good pickup for them at this point. But that kind of rounds out. I mean, we had a whole bunch of trades happen before the deadline. My Vikings went out. We got Cam Akers. You have J.C. Jackson going back to New England. Randy Gregory to San Fran. Mecole Hardman back to KC. But those were the ones that we kind of haven't already talked about, and the trades that happened real closer to the deadline.
Absolutely. All right, so we're ready to start diving into some of the actual games, and we'll pull up picks from last week.
Yeah. We both picked on Thursday. You picked who did you?
I took the Titans plus the points, which I felt very good about the majority of the game, right up until the last little bit. Look, Will Levis, I think, is going to be the starter for that team going forward. He looks like he might be the most capable guy of that entire group.
100%.
Malik Willis, I like his abilities to create off schedule, but is still not there fully in understanding the rhythm and the schemes and throwing on time. And I don't know if we need to say too much more about Tannehill. We have seen what Tannehill can be, but we have also seen what Tannehill is. We've seen really bright spots from Tannehill, but for the majority of the time, he is a below average quarterback in the NFL. He will probably switch into a career backup role as a mentor. He may get another shot somewhere to start, but it is not going to be as a full-time starter, in my opinion. Will Levis should be the guy. I thought he was going to lead them down the field for a fucking game-winning touchdown. Almost did. But listen, that Steelers defense still very, very good, very well coached. Steelers on the money line. I thought 3 points was going to be enough. I thought it would be closer. Ends up being they lose by 4. But Will Levis looks like the dude going forward in Tennessee.
Yeah, I am cautiously optimistic with Will Levis for the Titans right now. Look, the guy, I can't say this enough. His poise in the pocket is outstanding right now, especially for a rookie. But like, he looks cool as a cucumber, I believe is the term I said to you in a text.
Yeah,
I was like,
I can actually pull up the text.
like, he looks cool as a cucumber when under pressure from like TJ Watt and stuff like that. Looks great and is able to move around in that pocket and make plays happen. His arm talent is outstanding as well. Like, the guy's got pretty damn good accuracy and is able to be falling back on his back foot and just flick the wrist and throw a ball on a fucking line. Like, the arm talent is there. My fear is between the ears right now. Yeah. He was like hard, like if you're let me paint a picture for you. If you're on the beach and you see some bodacious blonde walking with these big old jugs and barely a piece of cloth covering up them titties.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
And you have you just see necks starting to, rubber and follow it and stare down. That's what he was doing to his number one read. Like, I did not see him move off the number one read so many times in that game, because I'm wanting to sit here and pick through, like, okay, what are going to be the issues with this guy? And he was hardcore staring down his reads. You saw in the first half, it didn't matter because they were just tearing up that Steelers secondary. But after halftime adjustments, his stats dropped in the second half a lot. And I think it's because the defense was like, okay, well, just look at what he's looking at. That's where he's going. Mm-hmm. And we saw a near interception in that final drive, and then obviously the culminating interception that ended the game for the Titans. And that's going to be my fear with Levis, is that if he isn't able to be coached into looking off safeties, into looking around at his other options, and to not key in the defense as to what's happening, he's gonna end up being a turnover machine. And that's something that can absolutely be worked on and figured out. It's also kind of tough when you're working with Westbrook, Erkine, and some Traylon Burks, who, Traylon Burks we saw, get stretchered off. It didn't look that bad. It just looked like he kind of smacked the ground, but apparently back concussion, has feeling all of his extremities. But also, not to rag on him, but he's not that great of a player, in my opinion. So you've got D-Hop, again, looking a lot more like vintage D-Hop, but that is because he's got a competent guy throwing him the ball. Like, you don't have a whole lot of options out there. So, yeah, you're probably going to stare down people a little bit more. But
and I thought it was interesting that you brought that up that night, because he was doing that. And it's not something that we saw in week 1. We saw a lot of shoulder rolls, moving safeties to get D-Hop behind coverages. And then this game, we did not really see too much of that, or he was at least far less effective with his eyes than he was in game one.
Yeah.
So that'll be something to definitely keep track of, because game one, he was throwing guys were wide open because he was manipulating safeties. That's how D-Hop got behind the defense 3 times. And you could see the shoulder roll for the fake, and then immediately the ball's coming out with that fucking flick of the wrist that he's got, because he's got immense arm talent, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can't, like those two things though, that the arm talent, you can't teach that. You can train it up a little bit, but you can't, like, some guys just are God-given that sort of natural talent. And then the poise, like he has a poise like a veteran, which some guys just have, some guys don't. And him having it, that is fantastic. The issues that I'm seeing can be coached. So that's good. It's just, are they going to have the coaching staff there to work through it with them?
Yeah, but I don't know that his head coach is going anywhere. And if he does go anywhere, hopefully it's somewhere back in the state of Ohio, either the Browns or Ohio State, depending on what happens with those two teams. But let's dive into the picks from last week. We'll take a look at those. So bounce back week, not as good as I had hoped for. Evo, you did great though, brother. So I go 10-6 last week. You went 12-4.
Let's be clear here. We're giving these picks out for free. Okay. It's the best deal on all the internet. We're giving out these picks for free. Okay. When you're getting results like this, it's pretty insane.
Yeah. So I put in, so halfway through the season, I put in our percentages. Mine took a dip with the 3-10 from week 7, but following week 8, I am 70, 50, and 2. For you guys that are not math people, that is a 58.2%. Evo 79, 42, and 1, hitting at a clip of 65.2%. So you are still up over that 65. I still need to work back from my atrocious week 7 of the 3-10 to get back over that 60 mark. Not a great start for me this week. I thought I was there, but
I have an unfortunate thing to bring up.
Uh-oh.
You actually have one more loss than you have marked, I think.
Oh, where's it at?
Wait, I'm incorrect here. My bad.
Okay. All right. It's like, I swear to God, I ran through and did all these.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
All right. I want to make sure that I'm not cheating the people. I don't want to be. Listen, we're the men of people. We don't fucking lie to cover up our mistakes.
I
Connor
just
Stallions.
an oopsie when I was marking them down.
Okay. So yeah, okay. I go 10-6. You're 12-4. Pretty good clip still. I need to bounce back. I want to get back over that 60% mark, which is where I was firmly until week 7 came up and kicked me right in the dick. Week 8 kind of kept me right around where I'm at right now with a 10-6. I need a big week here. So, brother, are we ready to start kind of diving into those games? And if we are, I need to make a dash upstairs and use the bathroom.
Yeah. Let me say this one thing about last week. 12-4, I feel great about, and it hurts me in my plums that I didn't go with my gut. I talked about it on the show. I should have went with the fucking Broncos over the Chiefs, and I had kind of wrapped that around the weather there, but I was like ready to make that pick before the weather, and then we talked about, the weather isn't going to be as bad as it was going to be. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to lean towards the Chiefs on this one. And I fucking shouldn't have. I should have just gone with what I had said I was going to do, because a 13-3 sounds way better than a 12-4. In the grand scheme, not that huge of a deal. But
and the weather wasn't as bad. The Chiefs just got outplayed.
Yeah. Well, and Mahomes was sick, allegedly, but
they got outplayed.
Yeah,
they got outplayed in basically all 3 aspects of the game.
Absolutely. All right,
I'm gonna run upstairs, use the bathroom, go ahead and start prefacing this first game. We're talking about the Germany game. Yes,
sir. And
we'll be right back.
Hopefully it goes nice and quick for Mike here. I don't know if we're doing a pissy or a poopy, but if it's a poopy, it could just be us for a minute. But Germany game. All right. So we have our Is this a first game ever in Germany? I'm not positive, but either way, it's the first one this year. We feel like it feels like we have more international games than we've ever had, and I believe that's probably the case this year. But we have the Dolphins and Chiefs being played out in Frankfurt, Germany, Frankfurt Stadium, some place that I have actually frequented several times, a lot more than several times from when I was stationed in the Army out there in Germany. You have the 6-2 Dolphins versus the 6-2 Chiefs. The line is currently Kansas City minus 1.5, over under of 50.5. And this should be a really, really good game. We're talking about AFC playoff style football, probably one of the best, if not the best game that I remember ever being out in Europe. So for those fans in Europe, outstanding for them to get to see both these teams playing. This is an interesting one, though. As a favorite of 3 points or less, Mahomes is 14-4-1 against the spread. So right now the spread or the stats are kind of pointing towards the Chiefs being the better team in this one. As a favorite of, let's see here. Dolphins, they've lost 6 straight on the road against winning teams. This is Tariq's first game versus Kansas City, so we'll see how Kansas City kind of plays against Tariq Hill. They know him intimately from him having been there for the first part of his career. Also, Mahomes, again, apparently had the flu or sickness or something like that last game and didn't have an MJ flu-style game versus the Broncos. But allegedly, he is good from that now. And after a loss in his career, Mahomes is 14-3, including 8 straight wins. So again, everything is kind of pointing towards the Chiefs here. Dolphins, they lost and failed to cover in their last 3 international games. And this dates back, I believe, to like 2005 or something like that. So again, I'm giving you a whole bunch of stats here that are kind of pointing towards the Chiefs winning this game, covering. That being said, and now we got the man, the myth, the legend back. All right.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Yeah. So I
did
did
a pretty good job there.
Yeah. No, I just went through a bunch of stats here. I don't know if you were listening on the phone.
I was listening.
Everything is kind of pointing towards Kansas City in this game, stat wise. But for me, the big issue is that the Dolphins showed up in Germany way early in the week, and they've just been chilling out there, hamming it up with the German folks. And something that we brought up with these international games is teams that are showing up on Thursday or later have a very tough time adjusting, and usually it is seen on the field. The Chiefs left at 8 p.m. on Thursday night and arrived at 9:46 a.m. on Friday morning.
They put out a fucking, I believe it was an Instagram post or a tweet saying, all right, we're leaving. And I got it super fucking late on Thursday night. It's like, oh, these guys didn't listen to the Lineman Lounge and how you're not supposed to travel that late in the week when you're going overseas.
I mean, it's not. We trashed the Bills for doing it.
Yeah.
And they're, well, at the time we were thinking they're a really good team. They might still be, they might not be. But like Andy Reid is a fantastic head coach. They have a fantastic organization there in Kansas City that seems to be very well run. It just doesn't make sense to me why in this day and age where you have statistical analysis and stuff like that, why you wouldn't go early and get acclimated. I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I gave all these stats. Kansas City,
everything points to
should win this game, and I'm taking the Dolphins plus the points. I think that, look, Mahomes is Mahomes, right? He elevates everyone around him, but again, that offense, other than Kelsey, just doesn't. No one on it scares me. All right, the Dolphins' defense has been pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
But that's all you kind of really need to have in order to be competitive with the Chiefs. My Vikings have been average with some upside because of all of the high pressure blitzing stuff, and we held it out with the Chiefs until the end. The Dolphins are going to be able to do that. All right. On the flip side, the Chiefs defense is really good, but the Dolphins just have so many more weapons, and they're going to have that. They're there. They're prepared. They are acclimated. Uh, I give all these stats, historical stats, as to why the Chiefs are going to win this game. But history doesn't matter when you don't pay attention to it. History shows that showing up early in these games matters. You have two teams that are relatively close to being evenly matched and should be a fun matchup, and then you give it up by not showing up on time. It is the Dolphins plus the points for me. Bang the table on this one all day.
You stole my thunder here. I had to use the bathroom, but I was going to talk about the stats
That's where the thunder was.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was, actually. Like the numbers, fucking 18 Chiefs are 18-7 against the spread as the favorites. Like that number is empirical evidence to show it. Like, hey, these guys are really fucking good. The Chiefs are just, they have put together all of these things that show that they should win this game, except for they forgot the one, and I think super important factor, because we talk about travel here in the continental United States as being a factor. They left on Thursday night to get to Germany. I know you have flown to Germany from the United States. I have as well on a Strat aircraft. So I was not sitting in a comfortable aircraft. I was sleeping on the hood of a Humvee. I've made that long fucking flight.
I've made that trip from Germany to usually Atlanta, sometimes Dulles. I've made it on civilian planes a lot from when I was stationed there. And then obviously I've had the military travel as well for deployments and things like that. It doesn't matter if you're in a nice flight or a shitty flight. It just, there is a physiological change that needs to take place over that time. Yeah. Like them leaving at 8:00 at night and showing up at 9 something in the morning, and you can generally sleep on the plane and stuff like that and keep a somewhat normal feeling sleep schedule. Sure, that makes sense. And the jet lag might not be the same because of that, but you could have done that 4 days,
Monday,
4 days earlier in the week.
Probably Tuesday. Give them Monday off, say goodbye to the family, and then Tuesday you show up and we're ready to get on a fucking flight early in the morning, and then we're there getting fucking acclimated, because you're losing from Kansas City. You're losing what? 6 hours, I want to say, because you guys are -7 OTC.
Yeah, we're 7 hours off of
Zulu. So Kansas City is probably -6, maybe -5 right now due to daylight savings. So they're losing 5 or 6 hours of travel. Probably even more than that, because Germany is probably +1, +2. So they're losing almost an entire half day. And then you left Thursday night. So they're showing up Friday morning.
Yeah. And look, if we want to throw one more stat out there, and it's probably the biggest one of them all right now, is that Taylor Swift is not expected to be there in Germany. So it could be a down game for Travis Kelce, who did say jet lag won't be a problem for me. We'll see. Maybe he's going to be perfectly fine with it. The team around him could suffer. Either way, it like heads up game. I think that the Dolphins have a chance to win this stateside outright. Given that they are there prepared, and just like I said, seems like they are really truly acclimating to Germany right now. Like I like them plus the points in this one. If you're going to give me a couple with the Dolphins, I will take it.
Yeah. So we got it at 1.5, right? The spread that we got. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Dolphins plus points, man. I think they're going to win this game. I really do.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Chiefs have never, I don't think Chiefs have ever been overseas. And this is not the Dolphins' first time traveling overseas and playing an overseas game.
Yeah, like I said, Dolphins have lost and failed to cover in their last 3 international games, but most of those have been like, this dates back to like 2005. So it's not like any sort of recent history necessarily.
Yeah, but they've at least gone over there. Some of those guys maybe have done it. Chiefs have never done it. So Miami, feel good about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we'll jump back stateside and get into some of our stateside games right now. Going to jump over my game, your game. We're going to go straight to the Rams and the Packers being played in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The line is currently Green Bay -3, over under of 38.5. Matt Stafford, true game time decision for this game. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue with this game is whether or not Stafford can go. Because if Stafford isn't playing, this game is a lot closer for me. I'm going to assume that Stafford is playing, though. Green Bay, they're 9-0 against the spread in their last 9 games versus the Rams. That's the only real stat I have for you here. Anecdotally, the Packers are dog shit. Got to see that last week. Okay, so like their defense is nothing special. They went out and give Rashawn Gary, who is having a average year, give him nearly $100 million extension. Dumb. Jordan Love, getting to truly fully watch through a game with him right now. It's not like he's necessarily making bad decisions. He just does not have the accuracy. Yeah. Like it is his accuracy is so far from an appropriate level for an NFL quarterback right now, that it's insane that there's still talks in the front office of like, well, we don't know if he's the guy or not. Like you've got half a year on film right now, not to mention he's been in your locker room and on your practice field for what, 4 years?
4.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't see this coming. He's not the answer. It's a big muff up. They trade Rasul Douglas. I think that Christian Watson is not special. He's a speedster, but not special. Romeo Dobbs is one of my favorite guys there at receiver, and he has drop issues. Aaron Jones does not look like Aaron Jones of old. He has hit the running back wall. AJ Dillon does not look like he used to. He has hit a running back wall. Like this team got old and antiquated and bad really quick. It's not a good team. I'm taking the Rams plus the points here. It's going to be tough to go into Green Bay and win. It always is, especially as it starts to get colder. But in Stafford's stats, having played in NFC North for quite a while, his stats in Green Bay are actually really bad. But at the end of the day, like the Rams have been a scrappy team. They've been a good team. Stafford has been solid this year when he's healthy. And that's all you really need in order to beat the Packers right now. So yeah, for me, I'm taking Rams plus the points on this one. Because I do not think the Packers are a good team. This is the bury them. They're done for the year game for the Packers. If they want to, like, this has to be a must win for the Packers if they want to have any pride in their team. Like, which to me I think is they're done and over.
So you got this at -3, right? For the Packers? Packers favored at -3?
Correct.
Yeah, so I love the Rams plus the points then. The Packers are not good. Jordan Love is not good. Now, granted, you talked about 8 straight meetings that the Packers have covered against the Rams dating back to 2007. Sure, cool, great.
They're due.
They are due.
The Rams are due.
Packers are fucking 0-4 in their last 4 games against the spread. So even if they do find a way to fucking pull this game out and win, I don't think that they're going to be able to cover 3 points. That if they are at all better, they are only 3 points better, and I could look at a push here with the 3 points. But I believe the Rams can win this game, especially if Stafford plays.
Stafford doesn't play, by the way. It's Brett Ripien is the backup.
Nah, I mean, I'm not.
And I don't know that they have a third stringer because Stetson Bennett is still
gone,
going through his whatever.
Yeah, whatever the hell issue is precluding him from being there. Wow. We don't know that for sure.
We don't know. This is pure conjecture from a couple dumb and thick idiots, but the boy likes the sauce.
Yeah, that's why you stay in college for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rams plus the points, man. It makes total sense to me. They have some really nice offensive weapons. Kyron Williams still not being there, not great, but Henderson is a very capable back. He knows the system. He's proven that he can play in that system multiple times. So yeah, Rams plus the points, 3 points. I mean, if I get a push, will I be excited about it? No, but with this game, I feel like I'm more than comfortable taking that. If the Packers win, they maybe win by a point. Maybe they go for 2 and they don't put the ball in fucking Jordan Love's hands to piss the game away because he will miss a wide open throw by 10 fucking yards over the wide receiver's head.
Yeah. All right, next one. We got the Commanders and Patriots out in Foxborough. The line is currently New England -2.5, over under of 40.5. Again, the commies started selling off assets this last week. Sweat and Chase Young are both out. The question for me there is really how is it going to affect the locker room, because that is a pure sign from front office. The season's done. You trade away 2 of your better defensive players. That being said, I'm not sure that the commies defense can get much worse than they already were. They're 31st in points per game this year, 29th in yards per game, and 29th in passing yards per game. Pretty dog shit. We got a little comment here.
I assume this is the head coach out there, Big Piney in Wyoming, my wife's high school, actually. That team apparently is very good. They were beating the shit out of people this year. Semifinals for state. Hey, coach, good luck today. Go get a big, fat fucking dub, and we're ready to cheer you on in the state championship.
And I'll probably get in trouble for this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I had told Mike after our last show that we just been having a slew of fucking robots and spam on the Facebook pages. Got rid of one this morning that was actually circled around the Big Piney Punchers. Basically a streaming option, like, hey, you can watch the game here, blah blah blah. One of those type of illegal streams or whatever the game. And I assume that it was spam bot because the profile was what looked to be a Filipino hooker that had 0 likes, 0 followers, 0 friends. So shout out to Filipino hooker Tran, whatever your fucking name is. Bye-bye, you're gone.
Yeah.
But let's go Big Piney Punchers other than that.
Yeah, but, we have been getting a lot of people who are trying to spam and sell a lot of shit on our Facebook page. We are trying to take care of all of those things as they pop up. As soon as we see them, we try to get rid of them. But listen, that's going to happen. If we delete something that was legitimate, we apologize. But yeah, go Big Piney Punchers.
Yeah. Now, other than that, we're getting back to the NFL game here. Like I said, commies defense, I don't know if it can get much worse than what they were doing. So it's a real interesting situation there. On the flip side, apart from the one kind of good game that we had from Mac Jones, 2 weeks ago now, I still think that the Patriots are not a very good team. What's your take on this game, Mike?
So, like you said, the Patriots are not very good. The Commanders have been much better. Their defense, does it worry me that they lose their 2 main pass rushers? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, their replacement guys that are coming in total together have, I believe, 5 sacks on the year. And part of that is going to be that they are backup level players. They're not seeing the field as much, but still you're hoping for a little bit more production. On the inverse of that, I believe that between Chase Young and Montez Sweat that they had either 9 or 11 sacks total this year. So it's not like that big of an upgrade with those 2 guys being out there a lot more often.
I don't know that, like you're saying, that there's going to be a huge drop off because their defense is pretty bad anyways. But man, I'm really starting to like the way Sam Howell plays the fucking game of football. The kid is not afraid to push the ball down the field. That is giving Terry McLaurin a lot of opportunities that maybe he didn't have before. I love Heineke, but Heineke tended to be a little safer with his intermediate routes. We didn't necessarily see him sling the ball super far down the field. We weren't seeing a lot of go balls out of Taylor Heineke, and Sam Howell is not afraid to let that fucker fly down the field. So I really like the Washington Commanders offense. I believe they will still be able to put up points because the Patriots defense isn't great either. We've seen that team get gashed several times this season. And I still don't like the Patriots offense at all. So I'm going with the Commanders plus the points, plus the 2.5 here, because I believe that their offense is good enough to, at a minimum, keep pace and possibly outscore whatever the fuck the Patriots can do.
Yeah. And actually in my notes here, I have it. I predict a solid game for Sam Howell. Like this team, there's my biggest question right now is the locker room state. Like, how are the guys going to perceive this going forward? Because you did just sell off 2 big defensive assets, 2 big guys on that defense. But again, the defense has already kind of been bad. It's an opportunity for some other players to get in there, rotated, and see what they got. And if you can't get much worse, the only way is up. I mean, obviously they can get worse, but let's see what they got. I got the Commies plus the points as well in this one. I'm not a big fan of this Patriots team. I like what Sam Howell is doing. Like I said, got the note here predicting a big game from Sam Howell. I'm thinking we're pushing 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one for Sam Howell. Probably another 6 sacks, but
yeah, that's going to happen.
Also a problem. But the one thing that has been generally working for the Commies this year is their offense. It's not been fantastic at all times, but the offense has been more of the bright light on this team. So give me the Commies plus the points in this one.
Yeah. And if you guys want some other numbers to go with that, Patriots 1-6 in their last 7 games when the line is between +3 and -3. So 1-7 against the spread. Not great odds going for the Patriots in that sense. So I love the Commanders here, plus points.
All righty. Next up, we have the Bears and the Saints being played in New Orleans. The line is New Orleans -8, over under a 41.5. I believe Justin Fields might be playing this game. I know that he's been practicing some, is questionable. Otherwise, you're going to have a little Tyson Bagent action again out there. And as much as we love the kid, like he kind of showed why he was an undrafted guy this last game. Not looking too great. New Orleans, they're 6-0 straight up and 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 meetings versus Chicago. But then again, who isn't against Chicago? The Saints passing defense also has been really good. Their defense in general has been good with the pass defense. They're second in completion percentage with 58% and second in yards per attempt in passing yards per attempt with a 5.9 yards per attempt. That's real good numbers. Again, that's second in the league behind only one other team, and that is the next game that we're going to go over, the Ravens defense. Sorry, your Browns defense has dropped a little bit further.
Yeah. Well, we haven't played great.
But at the end of the day, you have a Bears team who is kind of devoid of offense. And if you're starting to make them a lot more one-dimensional by taking away the passing options, especially if Bagent is going to be
double DJ Moore, just double DJ Moore, and they can't fucking do anything on offense.
Like Cole Kmet and DJ Moore are the 2 like guys that you got to watch for passing wise, right? Yeah. So you also have the Saints going out last week and looking pretty solid. Derek Carr probably has, I would say, his best game of the year last week. So also Kamara has looked great since coming back from being suspended. He's getting better each week. So to me, 8 points. I'm not a huge Saints fan, but I'm not taking that. I do like the Saints to win this one though. So it's money line Saints for me.
Same, man. 8 points is way too much to give up. I don't care if if Justin Fields plays in this game, the Bears are still bereft of offensive talent. We had the one outlier game where DJ Moore was basically the entire offense. That is not sustainable. You cannot run an offensive game plan with everything through one wide receiver. So it's got to be the Saints and it's got to be the money line because 8 is way too much to give up.
All right, next up, we got what looks to be a really good game here. Seahawks and Ravens out in Baltimore. Line is currently Baltimore -6 points, over under of 44.5. These are 2 teams that are both looking really good right now. We're getting late October into November, and these teams are really starting to turn it on, which is what you want to see from a playoff caliber team. And you're seeing MVP level production out of Lamar Jackson right now. in the last 18 games is a favorite of more than 3 points. The Ravens are actually 4-14 against the spread, though, while the Seahawks are 22-7 against the spread when they are getting more than 3 points. So that's heavily leaning towards the Seahawks being able to cover this one. Also, Seahawks defense, again, they have 21 sacks and 4.1 yards per play allowed since week 4, which in that span is the best in the NFL. They just traded for Leonard Williams, so that defense only gets more stout. And then the Ravens D, speaking of defenses, they are first in points per game on defense, 15.1, first in sacks with 31 sacks, and first in yards per play of 4.2 yards per play. So that defense is playing kind of outstanding right now. Seahawks, though, like we go back 2 weeks versus the Bengals, they lost that game, but they looked really good in losing that game. They just didn't convert scores. If they had gotten the touchdowns where they had been in the red zone, they probably win that game by 10 points or more. And that's going against a Bengals team right now that is really hot. This game looks like it could be a very high scoring one. Again, 44.5 for the over under. And two teams that are right now at this point in the year, Seahawks 5-2 and Ravens 6-2 are looking to kind of hit their stride. I'm interested to see what you're thinking is going to happen in this one, Mike.
So the Ravens defense is really good. Geno Smith has been playing much better, though. But one thing that they kind of struggled with at times, and I know this because we played them last week, is they are susceptible to a really good pass rush that can kind of stagnate their offense. And with the Ravens having one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, doing it in a multitude of different ways. I mean, they got 31 sacks on the season, number 1 in the league. It's definitely pushing me towards the Ravens. If this game were being played in Seattle, I would take Seattle plus the points because I would feel better about them being able to cover at home. But I'm not sure we would see this kind of line if they were playing out in Seattle. So I'm going to stay away from the Seattle plus the points. I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to take the Ravens on the money line. They have looked fantastic on defense, and it pisses me off. Lamar Jackson is playing better. He's playing high caliber football right now. He had a couple weeks there in the middle where he looked like he was not the same guy. But I'm going Ravens on the money line. Thought maybe I would go Seattle plus the points, but based on, how good the pass rush is for the Ravens and knowing that it really kind of stagnates that Seattle, that offense, Ravens money line for me.
Yeah. And I'm kind of in the same boat. Seattle traveling, and with as much travel as Seattle has to do, that for me is kind of where my tipping point is, because I look at these teams as a lot more closer to being a pick 'em. If we're talking about this game being in Seattle, I'm going Ravens money line as well. It seems like Vegas right now is really split on this. The money is basically 50-50. A majority of bets are on Seattle, but the money is split even between the two teams. I think people can't really decide as to what they want to do here. So I don't want to drop the points for Baltimore because I do think that this one could be very close. And if I were to have to take a spread, I'm taking Seattle plus the points on it. But we don't have to do that here. I'm taking Ravens money line. I feel like that's a safer bet with them playing at home.
All right.
All right, next up, we have the Bucks at the Texans out in Houston. The line is Houston -3, over under of 39.5. You have Bucks who have had their under hit in 5 straight games. They've lost 3 straight and not led in any of those games, averaging 12.3 points per game. But on the flip side, the Texans, who have, been surprisingly decent this year, especially with CJ Stroud looking really good. They dropped one last week to Carolina and give Carolina their first win, which is a little bit embarrassing. That being said, Baker Mayfield is coming here playing on the road. This year, Baker Mayfield has looked significantly better when playing outside of Tampa. Yes. He's got a 99.9 passer rating on road games, a 2-1 record, and a 7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio when playing on the road. things get a lot more even when he's playing at home, which is interesting because usually it's the other way around. You play better at home. And maybe that is partially because Baker feels homeless right now. I mean, Cleveland was his home, and then it was
They bounced around a lot in the
Carolina,
year.
and then the Rams, and then now the Bucks. So Bucks Texans, where you got this one?
So for me, man, you brought up the Baker better away from Tampa. Well, the team in general is better away from Tampa. 3-0 this year against the spread on the road. This is a road game. I like Tampa plus the points. The Texans losing last week and not getting it done to a pretty lowly Panthers team has me a little worried. Like I feel like they should have been able to do more, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I like Tampa plus the points, especially with all the stats about how much better Baker is playing away and the team in general. 3-0 against the spread on the road. I'll take the points. So you got 2.5, or is it 3 now?
-3 for Houston.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Tampa plus the 3 points.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to be doing the same thing. I think that the Texans win this game. I like them better overall as a team, but Bucks plus the points I think is the money play here. Damian Pierce, I believe, not playing this game
Not
with
playing
injury.
this game.
Robert Woods, I believe, also is out, which was one of their top 3 receiving options, which means CJ Stroud should be focusing a lot more on Tank Dell and Nico Collins, which he has been already this year. And what Devin Singletary is there as the backup, so a little bit more Devin Singletary action. So the Texans are hurt a little bit, but I mean, I would like to say the Texans are able to rebound after that shitty game last week versus Carolina. And I think that they'll have an okay game. I think that they'll be able to do enough to win, but I got to go with the Bucks plus the points here. I feel like that's money play.
Yep, absolutely.
And in reality, the Bucks have kind of held it out with most teams that they've been playing. The telling sign is what it was the Bills that they played with, and they took it down to the wire with them.
Yeah,
and you know, it depends on how you feel about the Bills right now. But
up and down, baby. I'm up and down with the Bills from week to week.
Yeah. All right, next game up, we got the Colts and the Panthers. Speaking of the Panthers, being played out there in Charlotte. The line is currently Indianapolis -2.5, over under of 43.5.
This game, so the Colts are a weird team. They were able to put up a lot of points, a lot of yards against a very good Browns defense. It's not been playing very well. Gardner Minshew has shown that he can still, like, he can play in the league. Maybe he's not your everyday starter. Not, you don't want him as your everyday starter, but he has shown to be capable. God damn it. I just fucking ran over my cord. But like this Colts team is pretty good. Like if they had their rookie quarterback doing electric things, I would like them a lot more in this game. But I think Gardner has shown enough in his time that they should be able to win this game. Like that team scores a lot of fucking points. Overs for the Colts games, 6-2 on the season. So there's a lot of points to be scored out there. Now, all of that is not with, Gardner Minshew as their quarterback, but I feel better about them. I don't like Bryce Young still. Like last week, he was able to get a win. I just don't feel good about that entire Panthers team at the moment. So
now I'll say this, like the Indianapolis defense, like they have just been absolutely terrible, and I think that plays a big part into why the overs are kind of hitting here. Indy, they're actually 1-7-1 straight up, and 1-8 versus the spread in their last 9 games as a favorite. So it actually doesn't favor them super well being the favorite here. But we're talking about 2 teams that are kind of really not that great right now. But if you have to look at one of the 2 teams that is worse, it is in general, it's the Panthers. Like the one game on their schedule that I thought that they had a chance of winning was last week against the Texans, because it just kind of felt right, even though we didn't pick that. This week looks a lot more gettable for the Panthers than it did last week, but I don't know that they're going to be able to string 2 games. Look, people are talking about they came out of the bye. They got Thomas Brown. I believe it's Thomas Brown. calling plays on offense now. And they figured it out. Look, it was 1 week and it wasn't a blowout game that they were winning here. I'm not sold on the Panthers having figured shit out yet. And so for me, it's going to be the Colts in this one. I ain't dropping the points though. It's Colts money line, just because it is too close of two bad teams here. The Panthers offense, if they want to look good, this is a good team to go against because that defense is terrible. But I think that the Colts are going to be able to put up some points as well.
All right. Yeah, both of us, Colts money line there.
And have we picked the same on every game so far this week?
We have, with the points, everything, with the exception of the Thursday night game where I took the Titans plus the points.
All righty. Interesting. Next up.
We have kind of alternated on who's picking first. I'm going to take this, and then, okay, well, I'll take these guys. So it's not one person just following the other person the entire time either. So
yeah,
I feel good about the way the week is playing out. I
mean, I've got my list of all of my stats and stuff here, and I have what my picks are for like 90% of the games already on here, and I'm sticking with them.
Right.
So it is what it is. Like, we've been giving out these picks for free the whole time, and we're doing pretty fucking good. Like, if we're messing up on these things,
ask to do a pick'em, a Lineman Lounge sponsored pick'em. We still got to look into the legalities of doing something like that, depending on the state you live in, whether sports gambling is illegal or not, and all of those things. But we're giving these picks away for free. If we're marrying up like this, I feel good about that.
Yeah, like, let's say that Mike's record and my record meld. You're still looking at 11 wins.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fucking good. All right. But next game, we got the Giants and the Raiders. This is a fun one because you've got it's Vegas being played out in Vegas. Vegas minus 2 points, over under of 37.5. You have a Giants team that just looks terrible, but they don't have Tyrod Taylor out there anymore. Is Danny Dimes coming back from that neck injury? And then you have the Raiders starting Aiden O'Connell, rookie quarterback, and a basically new coaching, like a reinvigorated team because they've lost their coaches that potentially were the ones pulling them down. I guess this is interesting because you had Tommy DeVito playing last week, and you say, who the fuck is Tommy DeVito? And let me paint a picture for you here. He is exactly what you would expect as your Italian fucking quarterback going out there for the Giants. I mean, you see him walking around in Tommy DeVito. He's got a big TD chain on and his wife beater with a bunch of marinara on his fucking shirt because why not? Like, and he looked bad, like really bad. So be happy that you're not having to have him go out there. But the most fucking Italian New York dude, of course he's going to be on the Giants. But you got Daniel Jones going back out there. And I don't know that that's a benefit. I don't know that's a bad thing, but I don't think it's any sort of a benefit when your offense
changes the way their offense looks, because he's not going to throw the ball as well as Tyrod has, but he's going to probably make more plays with his legs. Maybe. Look, at the end of the day,
you got Darren Waller out in this game. You've got Saquon Barkley playing, and he's about the only offensive weapon that scares you at all out there. On the flip side, you've got the Raiders reinvigorated. Antonio Pierce, a lot of moxie, a lot of charisma, and he's inspiring that locker room. You're seeing videos come out of the locker room of guys seeming like they're fucking pretty happy. I think Hunter Renfrow said something like, like we're not having to be operating scared anymore, or something like that. We can feel free to talk or something. It makes me happy to see Devontae Adams look happy all of a sudden, as a fantasy owner of Devontae Adams. Look, Vegas is 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games as a home favorite. I'm expecting a big game from Max Crosby. God damn it. I'm expecting a big game from Max Crosby here, being able to get after Daniel Jones. I see more than 2 sacks in this game for Max Crosby, who looked, it was funny. You have a beautiful woman in your life like I do, who likes watching football with you, but doesn't understand the game too well. And she's like, why does that guy look like a crackhead when we were watching last week? And I was like, well, because he likes fucking drugs a little bit, but like he's also fucking crazy. Like,
crazy.
And love it. Max Crosby looked great last week. I think he's going to look even better against this shitty offensive line that New York is going to put out there. And Daniel Scared Face Jones is probably going to go down at least 3 times from Max Crosby. So with all that being said, new coach coming in, usually you'll get like a 1-week bump from a team emotionally. And that's why I'm going Vegas here. I'm actually almost thinking about dropping the points. I'm going to take Vegas.
I'm not doing that.
I'm taking Vegas money line, but
all right, here we go. We're still rolling.
But if I was putting money on this game, if I was actually betting it, I bet you the odds are better to drop those 2 points. And so that's where I would be going if I was actually putting money on this. If I was adding it as part of a parlay, I'm sticking with the Vegas money line. But solo, I would be taking Vegas dropping the points. But yeah, Vegas money line for me. I like the direction of where this is going for the Raiders, at least for a week.
Yeah, at least for a week. And listen, I thought about dropping the points because the Raiders, and this shocked me, 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games as a home favorite. So they play well in that new stadium. And Daniel Jones is not the guy. Like, we have seen other quarterbacks play. Well, Tommy didn't, but fucking Tommy DeVito was not. Paisan was not ready to go out there and ball. Daniel Jones ain't the guy, man. He's just not it. Aiden O'Connell's probably not the guy either, but I know where that ball is going at least probably 10 fucking times. Devontae Adams is getting a minimum 10 targets this week, just as a one last fuck you to McDaniels for not utilizing that weapon the right way.
I'm interested to see what we get out of Aiden O'Connell here, because he's played in 1 game already. And I remember saying, like, he didn't look terrible, but he had, some untimely turnovers and sacks and stuff like that. But like the Raiders fans really like this guy.
And the head coach did him no fucking favors in the game that he did play.
Absolutely. And you've got a guy that looked really good in the preseason, and that's, tough to say because a lot of guys will look good in the preseason, but like Aiden O'Connell looked competent enough to be able to run in this offense and do at least as good as Jimmy was doing, which is not very good. Like Devontae had a bad game last week because he dropped a couple that he should have had, but he also had left at least 10 fantasy points, if not more, on the field from overthrows and underthrows and stuff like that. You just get a competent guy who can throw the ball at, in the general vicinity of Devontae, and he should be able to come down with those 9 times out of 10. So the production increase could be heavy here. I think Renfro starts to get involved again in this offense as well. So I am not willing to say Aiden O'Connell is going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think that we're going to see a market improvement from the passing offense.
If you get fucking average quarterback play, this team's going to drastically improve, and that's good enough to beat the Giants, who have looked like one of the worst fucking teams in all of football.
I think Aiden O'Connell today probably is a better quarterback than Jordan Love.
I mean, that's not that big of an indictment.
Yeah, I think that he can have a better game than Jordan Love would have.
I will say that over the last few weeks, the worst starting quarterback in the league has not been a resident of New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's probably been Jordan Love. Jordan Love has probably been the worst quarterback in all of football.
Yeah. Garoppolo's been pretty bad too.
Oh, that's true. God, yeah, Garoppolo's been really fucking bad.
Yeah. All right. Raiders money line.
Yeah, Raiders money line as well.
Sticking to the script.
Keep it going, baby.
All right. Another really fun one. I'm betting that the NFL wishes that this was their Monday night game. Cowboys and Eagles out in Philadelphia. Line is Philadelphia -3, over under of 47.5. In their last 9 matchups between these two teams, the home team has covered 8 of those games. Jalen Hurts, he's actually covered 8 straight at home when he's favored by a touchdown or less. Dallas is 14-7 against the spread on the road since 2021. So they're good on the road in that time frame. However, AJ Brown, he is currently in the history books right now. He has the longest streak in NFL history of games in a row where he's received 125 yards or more. And he's at 6 games right now. All right.
Big fan of that because he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't expect that to necessarily change. Now, Dak also, like, I'm giving a lot of conflicting stats here. Dak is 7-1 in his last 8 matchups versus the Eagles with a 72% completion percentage and a 17-4 touchdown to interception ratio, that was the most surprising stat that I was able to find for me. Like, Dak actually performed really well against the Eagles. And then the Eagles, like, they are at the beginning of potentially the roughest stretch in football, in my opinion. They've got Cowboys this week, Chiefs next week, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys again, Seahawks. They finish out their year pretty easy, Giants, Cardinals, Giants. But they have, including this week, six games that are going to be real tough. If you believe that the Cowboys are a good team. And we've had some questions about that this year, specifically Cowboys losing to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I have had questions as well. Like, they're looked really bad at times, but so you lose to the Cardinals, terrible loss, and then you get blown out by the Niners. But they have also gone out there and scored fuckloads of points on a lot of different people, but they haven't really played a stout defense. But I don't feel as confident about this Eagles defense as I did at the start of the year. They got some really nice pieces, but they have not been exactly what everyone was expecting last year either. The Cowboys, great against the fucking spread on games that are 3 points or less, 5-1 since the start of last season. And all the way back to 2018, they are fucking 18-9 against the spread as fucking underdogs. But you gave off all the stats for Philly. This is a very, very tough game. I've gone back and forth on this game.
As a football fan, this should be a good game to watch.
Should be a very good game to watch. I think that the Cowboys are actually a little bit better than what I gave them credit for. And the Eagles are not quite as good. They are still the only team with 1 loss. But because the Cowboys, I think, have the ability to play with them, this is an important division rivalry game as well. I'm going to go with the Cowboys plus the 3 points here.
Yeah, and Vegas would agree with you right now. 70% of the money is on Cowboys plus the points. So it's an interesting one. That's a very popular pick. I'm taking Philly money line on this one. We're going to have our first deviation between the two of us. I'm going home field advantage here. Philly has only had the 1 loss this week or this year. They are 3-0 at home. Divisional game. In my recent memory, it feels like Philly has kind of had the Cowboys number, even though that 7-1 Dak Prescott stat to me, it still surprised me. The reason why it looks so good, I think, is because Philly has really, really come on like last year and become a juggernaut as of last year. And I believe that Dak lost 1 game to Philly, and then you had who was their backup out there?
Cooper Rush, baby.
Cooper Rush. I believe Cooper Rush had to play versus Philly in Philly last year and dropped 1 there. So if we're talking short time span, since this Eagles team has been really competitive, they have beat the Cowboys and beaten them pretty well. Yeah, the Eagles defense, I say this every fucking week. I feel like the Eagles are not hitting on all cylinders yet. Their defense does not look, with how much talent they have out there, their defense does not look as good as they should. But the offense still is producing. Again, don't feel like they're producing as well as they should, but they are. I'm taking Philly money line on this one. Even though, like I said, Vegas money is actually on that Cowboys plus the 3. And a lot of people are calling for the Cowboys to win this one. I'm thinking a lot of that Vegas money is coming from stupid Cowboys fans who are just like
There's one
hardcore
thing that
homers.
worries me about all the money being on Dallas is like, okay, well, Dallas fans are just driving up all of the money because they feel good now after they have had a couple weeks removed from getting their fucking dicks kicked in by the Niners.
Yeah. Any comments on the Jerry Jones glory hole statement?
I think it's so funny that Jerry didn't realize what he said. So I showed this to producer Amber. She's like, God, why would he like kind of laughing like that dirty old man? I was like, no. He doesn't know what he said.
Yeah.
Classic hilarity. Yeah. Fantastic. There's no way that he knew what that meant, right?
I know. No,
Yeah.
that's like it's one of those gaffes. It's a Joe Biden-esque gaffe. It's an oopsie whoopsie, but it makes for great media quotes. So
yeah, the fact that, I mean, hilarious, great, love it.
All right. Next up, we have another good game potentially.
Yeah.
The old DeMar Hamlin game, Sunday Night Football, Bills versus Bengals out in Cincinnati, Ohio. Word on the street is that this game could be killer. Hopefully not that bad. The line is Cincinnati -2, over under a 50.5. Excuse my poor attempt at jokes here.
They were great.
The Bills are kind of
Unexpected.
a weird team right now. We don't know what they are because they are like boom or bust in the truest sense. But the Bengals, who started off the year really shitty, have looked like they figured it out. Like once you get this is something that we have to write in our notebooks and remember year in, year out. Joe Burrow is just going to have 3 to 4 really bad weeks of football to start out the year and then start to come into his own. Which is always scary as a fan of a team when your team starts off that shitty and your, big name quarterback starts off that shitty. But the real good teams start to turn it on mid-October and carry that throughout the rest of the year. If you're getting hot at the beginning of November, you're going to be all right. And that's where the Bengals have kind of been for the past couple of years. And it's where they are right now. Like they've looked good the past couple of weeks. The Bills, on the other hand, like we said, it's like they're playing close games versus the Bucks. They're losing to the Patriots. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And they're still 5-3. So this is tough. This could be a very, very fun game to watch if the Bills offense decides to show up. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Josh Allen has actually covered 70% of the time in his career as an underdog. He's 16-7-2 against the spread. So spread wise, looks like if you're betting on Josh Allen, you should be taking the points here for the Bills. But I'm not really convinced what I'm doing yet. I have an inkling of where I'm leaning, but I'm curious to find out what you think.
Yeah. So listen, the Bengals started out the season like absolute hot fucking garbage, and I was dancing on their graves, but they have since turned it around. It looks like the calf injury to Burrow he's past that now. He's able to beat Joe Burrow. He's making good quality throws. He's getting people involved. This team is starting to roll. They're starting to get much better. But they are 0-3 outright and against the spread in conference games this season. That makes me very worried. They are beating other teams from the NFC, but when they have gone up and played, some decent teams from the AFC, you got your Browns, your Ravens, and your Titans, which we don't feel great about that. They have been not spectacular. So because Josh Allen is getting some points, I think that I'm gonna lean towards Josh Allen getting points. You talked about some of the numbers. Josh Allen as the dog is much better. What were the numbers again exactly? Because I didn't have that stat here. Yeah.
So Josh Allen, he's covered 70% of the games that he has been an underdog in his career. He's 16-7-2 against the spread.
Yeah, I love that. I love the Bills getting the points here as well. Even though the Bengals have been much better, they have not been good against the AFC. And that really sticks out to me. Why they're not good against the AFC, I don't understand. But I'm going to go Bills plus the 2.5 points here.
All right. Now, again, the lines that we're giving you here are based off of what I'm seeing here on ESPN, and they get their stuff sourced from Caesars. You can actually find a little bit better lines for the Bengals if you're trying to drop points out on MGM. They're minus 1.5 points. And if they were minus 1.5 points, I might drop those points for the Bengals here. 2 is a little bit close to me. If our Bills were getting 3 points, I'd feel a lot better about taking the Bills plus the points. I'm actually going to go Bengals money line on this one. This should be a close game. The Bills just aren't inspiring confidence in me right now. Like offensively, they've had a really down like past 3 weeks. I'm not seeing the high flying Bills offense that Josh Allen is known for putting up those past 3 weeks. That means that they're due for it, and this definitely could be the game where you're going up against a playoff competition type team. But to me, Bengals, again, they've kind of hit their stride. They're starting to figure it out. They're at home. I'm going to take the Bengals money line. I'm not dropping those points.
All right, all right. And interesting for the Bills, like the games that they have dropped, they've lost to teams that are not necessarily great, but also kept them close. They lose first game of the season, 22-16 to the Jets. They lose to the fucking Jags, 25-20, and to New England, 29-25. So even in games where they have not performed very well, they have been able to keep it close. So interesting things going on with this game this week.
Yeah. All right, Monday night, we have the Chargers and Jets out in New Jersey. Again, this is why I said they probably wish that Cowboys-Eagles game could have been flexed into the Monday night spot because it's not that the Chargers-Jets is necessarily going to be a terrible game. It's just that Cowboys-Eagles game not getting the primetime slot is kind of criminal. But Chargers-Jets, the line is Chargers minus 3.5, over under of 40.5. And I really don't have a whole lot for this game stat-wise. Chargers, they're actually 8-4 against the spread on the road since 2022, which I believe is the best in that time frame. But this is the Jets team that's performing better. Zach Wilson is looking like an average to above average quarterback. He's looking way better in the second half of games as well, which is a nice turnaround for the Jets. And sooner or later, we're going to actually have to have starting real conversations about what is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers because he is out in pregame warmups, hopping around, throwing balls like 5 weeks removed from Achilles surgery.
Insane. A short time frame.
I hate talking about Aaron Rodgers this way. Just it burns me to my core. But like looking at him in the locker room and stuff like that, it looks like he's a little bit more jacked than normal as well. Like he's keeping his body in good shape. And he's recovering quickly. I'm not saying he's using steroids or stem cells. He might be. But like maybe that's an explanation for the whole situation. But we're going to have a reality check here really soon if the Jets continue to look good and win about is he going to be back in time for the playoffs. It's kind of scary to do that on an Achilles. We've never seen that sort of a quick recovery. Mm-hmm. But it's possible.
Yeah, well, and he had some sort of like experimental surgery done to try to make that process much quicker. Medicine gets better all the time. I remember Adrian Peterson coming back after 6 months from the ACL, and people were like, "Oh, that's way too early. There's no way. It's not possible."
And I know you hate saying it.
Yeah, and it has a historic. I know you hate saying this, but it's entirely possible that Aaron does a really good job of taking care of his body, always has, even though he's doing ayahuasca and all these other things. And he's going to be able to get back and be ready. Now, obviously, that has no bearing on this game whatsoever. But if he can make it back, they have to play him, right?
If they think that if they think that his
if they
injury
clear him,
is safe enough, then yeah.
I think if
you
they
have to.
clear him, period, you have to play him. So what does that do to Zach Wilson then?
Nothing changes from what you thought was going to happen with Zach Wilson when Aaron Rodgers was the starter. He's going to be the backup on that team, and then
He'll go back to being the backup. Yeah. If Aaron can't go because it doesn't work out, does that affect his confidence? Because here's the thing. Zach Wilson has actually been playing with a lot of confidence recently, and you can see it on the tape. You can see it in everything. The ball is actually getting out quick. Was my chief complaint about Zach Wilson from the very beginning, as he did not play within rhythm, did not play within structure. Everything required a hitch because he wasn't confident about what he's seeing. His confidence right now is probably at an all-time high, as it should be, because they have been playing fucking fantastic. They are 3-0-1 against the spread in their last 4 games. 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 games as the underdog. Chargers 0-3 outright against the spread on teams that are over 500. Like, there are a lot of things that are pointing towards this Jets team being on the rise and the Chargers actually not being very good against teams that are any fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Look,
Aaron Rodgers news doesn't change this week and the way I'm going to go, but that could have a drastic impact on what happens with this franchise.
I think a big part of why Zach is actually doing better probably is because, look, New York in that market, it is a fuckload of pressure. All right. He has all that pressure kind of removed off of him right now, because you come into the year knowing, okay, I'm not the starter. I can't fight back to become the starter. It is Aaron Rodgers. He's playing with house money, it kind of feels like right now, because he doesn't know what is going to happen with his career, but the pressure is off. So now he's playing, and it's like, hey, if I win, that's awesome. That's good for me. But if I don't, like, I wasn't supposed to even be the starter this year, dude. It's okay. So, like, that pressure is off of him. Everyone is saying any positive steps you take, they're giving him 100% support. Like, it's mentally just a way better position for Zach Wilson. And that's like, I don't know that it hurts him if Aaron Rodgers ends up coming back mentally, because I think he's going to be able to say, like, hey, I did my job. That's where we need to be for Aaron Rodgers to start. Now, I'll say this real quick. Like, it gave me a little bit of a half trouble. I mean, we never want players to get injured in this league, but imagine Aaron Rodgers already fucked the Packers. All right. He had to play, what, 60%?
Yes. He's not getting there.
Can't happen. But he comes back at the end of the year, gets in the playoffs, and re-tears the Achilles.
You're pushing us into a dangerous area here.
God damn, that would be something, wouldn't it? And producer Amber, I believe this is a very true comment. Ever since you've had Donna Kelsey, around Zach Wilson, like, the MILF Hunter has been doing great things.
He has. Shout out to Donna Kelsey, by the way. Like, didn't see that being the thing, but Zach has played so much better. And that's why it's going to lead me to my pick. 3.5 still, correct, is what we got?
Yep.
Yeah, Jets plus 3.5, man.
We're going the same way.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. Zach is playing at least average quarterback play right now. So that makes this team good enough to win. The Chargers will find a way to lose this fucking game. We may see 2 head coaches fired midseason because Staley is going to find a way to do something dumb. Saleh does not do that. The better coached team, the better defense resides with the Jets. I think, obviously, the better offense is still on that Chargers team, but Zach is at least playing up to par now. That's good enough.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the Jets need to start putting more points on the board with Zach. I'll say that. He's playing better. Statistics are looking better. He's managing the game a lot better. But they've got to find a way to start putting more points on the board. Stop right there. Full stop. It's Breece Hall has been fantastic for him as well. But yeah, if Zach is able to start getting a couple more touchdowns thrown, like, things will get rolling a lot better for him. All right. Before we jump back to our games,
the condensed area messes with him a little bit.
Yeah. Before we jump back to our games, we got four teams on bye this week: Broncos, Lions, 49ers, and Jags. So not having to worry about them. But we'll roll back in time.
Hell yeah.
And we'll start off with my Vikings at the Atlanta Falcons. The line is currently Atlanta -3.5, which this line has moved quite a bit. It
opened at -1.
It will. I've seen it -5.5 at one point.
Oh, God. So it opened up at -1 Falcons, and then you said it moved up to -5.5.
I have seen -5.5. Yeah. Which, I was kind of like, oh, well, I'll take that. But
now down to 3.5.
Now down to 3.5. Over under 37.5. You have Taylor Heineke starting this game for the Falcons. Drake London, one of their top receiving options, is out. But on the flip side, you have the Vikings without their franchise quarterback and Kirk Cousins now. They did make that trade for Dobbs, but Jaren Hall is the presumptive starter. Dobbs has said that he will prep and prepare if he needs to be used for this game. If there's anyone that can learn a playbook this quick, it would be Josh Dobbs, rocket scientist, alopecia king. So this is an interesting one for me because I don't think this Falcons team is very good. But Heineke, I've always been a fan of. He's scrappy. He's a gunslinger. And that worries me a little bit more than Desmond Ridder, who Desmond Ridder has been great at home. So we'll see. But Arthur Smith, he's coached 42 games as the head coach of the Falcons, all right? He has only won 6 of those games by more than 4 points. They don't blow people out. The Falcons are 3-9 under Smith as a favorite of more than 2 points. And the Falcons are 0-6 versus non-divisional opponents this year, averaging 16.3 points per game, and opponents are averaging 23 points per game against them for non-divisional opponents. That division is not very good, which is why the Falcons have had more success against the division. I don't think the Falcons are that great of a team. I kind of said, like, normally you lose your starting quarterback who is playing like a top 3, top 5 quarterback statistically, and your season is generally lost, and it's really heartbreaking. And for me and my Vikings, I had already kind of come to terms with that this year was going to be very weird and probably down. I am more excited to see the direction of this team than I have been in a while, just because it's going to be so telling based on how Jaren Hall plays this week, or like what the future kind of holds in store. But I'm looking forward to the future right now. Like, we didn't trade Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter has made comments about how he loves it in Minnesota and wants to stay here.
Yep.
I think we're going to resign him. I think if you aren't going to resign him, you move him just like you did with Ezra Cleveland, especially after losing Kirk Cousins. So I think their intention is
excellent front office there with Kwesi as well. He knows this. Like, he learned under somebody who I think is one of the best GMs in the league, and Andrew Berry. Like, he is smart. If he's not trying to re-sign him, you got to move him. And the fact that he's still on that squad tells me that he's probably getting re-signed. Now, how big that deal is, no idea, but
they'll probably get him somewhere in the range of a top 5 defensive end in the league, which is going to be expensive.
$60 million.
But I think that's what we're talking about is a 3-year deal, and they're going to make sure that it is tradable. Because if we come into a situation next year, depending on how the quarterback situation is and everything, we could have another down year next year if everything doesn't go right. And that's when you really need to start spinning off assets. And Danielle would probably be one of those. So I think that they work on re-signing Danielle. We got 2 other big contracts coming up. We got to sign our left tackle, but I think we're going to push that off another year. And then JJ. And after that, the question comes to Cousins. All right, we have 28 mil in void year at Cousins right now. I think we might re-sign him.
Oh, wow. That is shocking that you think that you would say that, because I know you've been off it for a while.
So I'm ready for us to move on. I don't think if we re-sign Cousins, I don't think that it will stop us from drafting a quarterback in the first round, because at the end of the day, Cousins, 36 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. you can probably get him at a discount. Like, he was already discounting himself. I think that we can probably get him in here, especially with the way that they're able to finagle that void year money. I think we could probably get him at a discount where we're talking 22 to 25 mil per year for a year.
I was going to ask, can you get him as low as 20?
And I think because of that void year money, he wants to stay in Minnesota. Like, Cousins wants to stay there. And if he doesn't, I think that he either goes to San Fran or the Patriots. But that's
Patriots make the most sense to me.
But I think that there's a possibility that they look at trying to re-sign him. Kwesi came out this week on a Wednesday press conference, I believe, and said, my want of keeping Kirk Cousins doesn't preclude us from like having a negotiation. He's like, it has to be a negotiation at this point.
Yeah.
So Kevin O'Connell has come out and said, Kirk is like my guy. I love him. I want him here. Kwesi has said that he wants Kirk there. Kirk wants to be there. It's, can they come to terms on the money?
Money, baby.
And I'm okay with Kirk being there for another year, especially with how he's played these past 2 years under O'Connell. The big question mark is going to be, when is the age going to catch up, and how is he going to recover from this Achilles injury? And if he is doing anything like what Rodgers is doing, I don't think he did an experimental surgery. He had the surgery there in Minneapolis. But like, as long as he's just not putting holy water on his ankle and hoping that it gets better, like, he can be back by next year, starting next season.
Getting some interesting massage therapy done by an older couple.
Like, as long as he comes back and is okay, like, I'm okay with a cheap 1 to 2 year deal that isn't going to preclude us from going out and drafting a quarterback, which we absolutely need to do. We need to pivot at some point in time and look towards youth in the future and dropping that contract off the books. But we could be bringing him back. Now, that's a lot looking towards the future, and I think that this week is going to be very telling. Again, Jaren Hall, I'm not expecting anything from him. Like, I'm not expecting him to be good this week. I expect Josh Dobbs to more than likely be our starter going forward after this week. But if Jaren Hall goes out there and shows that he's relatively competent and okay, like, cool, that's awesome. Again, it's not going to stop us from drafting a guy next year, but it also means that, hey, like, we're not forced into a corner of having to feel like we need to re-sign Kirk Cousins. Same way with Dobbs. I think Dobbs is a guy that if he shows to be an average, above average quarterback this year with the Vikings, where he has so much more talent than what he did down there in Arizona, and he did all right with Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cheap option to keep as a backup, and you don't have to feel any pressure into going and re-signing Cousins, and you can still go and get that young quarterback in the future.
Yes.
The Vikings have a lot of weapons on offense. It is going to fall a lot more on the shoulders of those weapons around the quarterback to lift him up. I have faith in Kevin O'Connell and being able to game plan and figure things out with a more mobile quarterback than we had with Kirk Cousins and Jaren Hall. I liked what I saw to Jaren Hall in the preseason this year. I don't expect him to be a world beater, but I think that he could be on Heineke's level as far as how competitively similar they could be. Got to see the fucking running game figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like, that's my biggest fear here is we've not had a running game, and now you're without your quarterback, so you need the running game to figure itself out to help take some of the pressure off that young quarterback. Yeah, I really wish that line was still where I'd seen it before, Vikings plus 5.5. I still am going to be taking the Vikings here plus 3.5. Bit of a homer pick, but I don't like the stats that I gave out for the Falcons. Heineke, of course, like I said, I like Heineke, and that's my worry, is that Heineke's going to kind of come out and have that moxie and show up well. But for me, it's going to be the Vikings. I think a lot of people are counting the Vikings out because Cousins is out and gone. But it's not like this offense just doesn't have talent. They've got a lot of talent that's shown up. So it's a great situation for a young quarterback to have opportunity to succeed. Vegas is actually matching me on this as well. 66% of the money is on the Vikings plus the points here in this game. We're seeing some places even giving them plus 2 points, and the money's still on the Vikings on this one.
Yeah, so I'm following suit, man. I like the Vikings this week plus the points. Like you said, the Vikings are in a really shit spot that we're going to see Jaren Hall, and we don't really know what the fuck it is that we're going to get from Jaren Hall. but I don't think it's going to. I think we're actually going to see this run game get a little bit more usage this week. Cam Akers, we talked about Cam Akers last week while you guys were watching the game. Like, he is more explosive with the ball in his hands.
It's slippery.
We could see a little bit more Cam Akers run this week. I think this game can remain relatively close. Honestly, the Vikings might even be able to win this. Now, Heineke does scare me because Heineke has shown throughout his time in the NFL that he has the ability to play and win at times. Like, he just has that fucking moxie. But Falcons 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games. They're 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games as the favorite. The Falcons look like they're probably a better team because you guys are missing a quarterback, but a lot of the numbers point to the Falcons being really bad against the spread. I like your Vikings plus the points. 3.5. I'm not worried about a push. Would I like it to have been 5.5 like you saw earlier in the week? Absolutely. But I still think 3.5 is good enough. I got your Vikings plus the points.
Yeah. And look, again, it's a tough situation looking towards the future for me because, like, hey, if we do good for the rest of the year, it's putting us middle of the pack or even a little bit later, around pick 2022 in the draft. And that sucks for getting a quarterback. But again, I'm kind of looking ahead to some of the options that are going to be there. And the 2 names that consistently are falling around that time frame are Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy. And I kind of like both of them for my Vikings for different reasons.
Over McCarthy.
I don't know. I kind of like McCarthy. McCarthy's more mobile, younger, less injury history. I feel like he's a better slate for Kevin O'Connell to work with. Penix creates is a lot more of a vertical offense type of guy.
Comes in is able to probably run an offense that you guys want to run from day one, though.
I think that he is probably most similar to Kirk Cousins in that aspect between those 2 guys because he's able to sit back, sling the ball, and he doesn't have to be as mobile like Kirk. Kirk isn't the most mobile guy. And I'm probably happy with either of them. But that's another reason why I'm interested to see the rest of the year with this Vikings team because KOC has not had a Vikings quarterback that's mobile.
Yeah. Jaron Hall's got some wheels, though. Jaron Hall can move a little bit, can he?
Jaron Hall can move. He slung the ball around there at BYU, lesser competition, but still. And then Dobbs has already rushed for almost 300 yards this year.
Yeah, which is weird. I don't think that's typical of a normal Josh Dobbs thing.
In college, he was definitely more of a dual threat guy. In the NFL, he hasn't been asked to do it as much until coming to the Cardinals. But I like mobile Josh Dobbs. I think that is, again, more than likely Josh Dobbs is the starter going forward in the rest of the year because I'm not expecting Jaron Hall to blow the doors off this week. If he does, cool. I'm happy with that. But I'm expecting to be Josh Dobbs. And I think that's going to be a key to success going forward is getting Josh Dobbs mobile and outside the pocket and not kind of off schedule. And with KOC not having had that option yet and him being kind of a mastermind with manipulating the offense and scheming stuff up, I'm really interested to see what he's able to do with it. And I think if we see success in KOC's system with a mobile quarterback, that could lean you a little bit more towards McCarthy, who is known for being a lot more mobile, running with the ball a little bit more compared to Penix. But either way, if we have good success, it puts us in a good situation because either of those quarterbacks could potentially be good for us going forward. We'll see. I'm excited for this game. More excited than I kind of have been just because I believe that this is like a really big turning point for the future of this franchise.
You got new storylines to watch, which always makes the game a little bit more exciting.
And the pressure I feel is off of us because now it's if we lose out for the rest of the year, that's a bummer. But also what do you expect? You lose a top 3, top 5 quarterback, you're going to have that sort of a drop off. And it's not like the team is terrible because of it. It's just you lost the most important position in all of sports. Is what it is.
Yeah.
But anyways, last game to talk about, we got the Cardinals and the Browns here going out in Cleveland. The Dobbs-less Cardinals. The line I've seen this line move a lot as well.
This line is fucking asinine.
It
the
was like
entire
minus
week.
8 earlier in the week. Now we're at minus 11.5, over under of 38.5. Kyler Murray, questionable.
Yeah.
Clayton Tune, the projected
Starter.
starter.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks it's a smokescreen, man.
Oh, I don't care. Even if Kyler starts, we're going to win this game.
Okay. Deshaun Watson also starting.
Also starting. We'll see how long Deshaun plays for, because he started the Colts game and made it 6 fucking plays.
You also have my one stat for this game here. Kevin Stefanski. He's got the 3rd best record following a loss since 1970 of head coaches, with like John Madden being number 2 and stuff ahead of him. He's 18-7 or 72% win rate after a loss as a head coach, with like, I believe it was like a minimum of 30 games. So you got that.
Yeah.
You also got a Cardinals team that is pretty poopy, and they traded off Dobbs, who it has been good for them with lesser talent around them. This is Cardinals team again, just scrappy, but they've kind of fallen back to earth. They're 0-4 on away games this year. You guys still, not the top defense in the league, but a pretty darn good defense. Your pass defense is solid. And the rushing attack here for the Cardinals doesn't really scare me. 11.5 points is fucking ridiculous, though, to be honest, because over under of 38.5 feels a little bit ridiculous to me. Like that this
there should be more points on the board as well, I think.
I'm just gonna say, because I'm sure you got plenty to talk about here. Cleveland money line for me. And I see this game being like a 17-3 type game.
Oh, really? I think we're going to see a lot more points in this game. So Deshaun Watson is slated to play this game. If Deshaun Watson is 100%, we should see him go out there and absolutely ball out. That's why you pay a guy $230 million guaranteed. And that's exactly what we should expect to see. Will that be what we see? I fucking very much doubt it, because I don't know that he's 100% healthy yet. Now, he has looked good in practice this week, but this Cardinals team is very, very scrappy. PJ Walker is waiting in the wings if he needs to come in and relieve Deshaun Watson. I would still at some point like to see DTR get an entire week of prep and a start, rather than not an entire week of prep, not knowing that he's going to start before we see PJ Walker again, if that's the case. But listen, I really liked some of the things that I saw from the Browns. Pierre Strong, I think, is going to have a role with this team, or he should have a fucking role in the backfield. Listen, losing Nick Chubb is a massive blow, but if you can get a nice little conglomerate of Kareem Hunt, Ford, and Pierre Strong all working at the things that they do very well, we can recreate a very fun offensive running game. And Njoku is playing fantastic still. I'd like to see him be a little bit more involved, especially down in the red zone. If Deshaun plays, we should see that this week, though. Cedric Tillman is going to have a little bit more opportunities. Let's see how that works out. And you brought it up, like it could be smoke screens. Clayton Tune is supposed to start this game. It very well possibly could be Kyler Murray. I don't think it's going to matter, though, because the pass rush of this Cleveland Browns defense has been very, very good. Obviously, you've talked about we've kind of slid back a few spots from where we were, but the pass rush is really good against a rookie quarterback. I love that. Or against a Kyler Murray starting in his very first game action in almost a year. I like that as well. Good with both of those scenarios. The pass rush should get home, and they don't have a ton of weapons on the outside that really scare me. You have Hollywood Brown, but I can go and line up Denzel Ward against Hollywood Brown. That's a great matchup for those two guys. They're both smaller, quick twitch muscle guys. And I believe Denzel can run with Hollywood, no problem. We saw that matchup several times in games with Baltimore and Cleveland, and Denzel was able to come out on top of those matchups the majority of the time. So the offensive weapons do not scare me for the Cardinals in the least bit. The running game would where they would need to make their hay, and James Conner, I believe, is still not playing in this game.
Correct.
So the Browns, I'm not dropping 11.5 points. The Browns on the money line makes the most sense. They might be able to cover. It will all come down once again to, is Deshaun Watson healthy? Is Deshaun Watson even 70% of the guy that we thought we were getting? That's all we have to have. We don't need top 5 Deshaun Watson, even though I'm not sure that Deshaun Watson was ever a top 5 quarterback. When you go back and look at all of this historical numbers about who was doing what at that time, like 2020, 2019. We don't need that guy. We just need average fucking quarterback play. Complete 60% of your passes and throw 1 touchdown pass. That's all we need. And we win this fucking game. Because we've had guys who have thrown under 50% or under 60% completions for the majority of the goddamn season. We are not getting a ton of fucking passing touchdowns. Like, that's all we need. 60% completion percentage and 1 touchdown pass. And this team, with the running game being piecemealed together and our defense good enough to win this game, no problem.
All righty. Go in the same spot there as well. So we are matching a lot this week.
All but 3 if we count Thursday night.
Right. I do want to make one comment, and this is just kind of me being a Packer hater, but Jair Alexander likes to talk a lot of shit. Jordan Addison, rookie wide receiver, made him hold his pocket last week. Jair Alexander likes to talk a lot of shit about Justin Jefferson too. You should be happy that JJ wasn't out there. Jair Alexander's a little fucking bitch. He's a little bitch. And your team fucking sucks, dude. So
would you like me to have producer Amber clip this and tag him for you?
No, I don't care. Jordan Addison made you look like a bitch, and he looked dejected during the game and after the game.
Jordan Addison played a fucking great game, though, dude.
Yeah,
he's going to be a stud.
Again, looking to the future, I really love what's happening with this team. Like, if we figure out what's going to happen with the quarterback, like, I hope we don't lose Brian Flores in the offseason. I don't know what head coaching jobs are going to be available and if they want to go for him, but he has done wonders with the defense with some lesser talent out there. So you can, we need a quarterback. We can find a late round running back, and the rest can go flooded towards defense as far as I'm concerned in this offseason, because like our offense is generally set between Addison, Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson. You have fantastic receiving options. You have a good offensive line for the first time in a long time. Like, excited about it. Like, when Jordan Addison is putting up those sorts of numbers where you're comparing him to like Randy Moss's and stuff like that already with statistics. Like,
you mean you're comparing him with his teammate Justin Jefferson, who's also historically put up insane numbers from a very young age?
Yeah, like that is fucking outstanding options for an offensive coordinator, an offensive mind like KOC. And it's a great situation for a rookie quarterback to go into to have success.
Yeah,
so like
it absolutely is. But I feel like our teams are both in the same spot. We just got to figure out the goddamn quarterback position. But that's the same thing with 75% of the NFL teams right now.
Yeah. And it's just, normally I feel dejected about when I'm saying that sort of situation, is that, I don't know what's happening with the quarterback. Like, I think that worst case, we bring Kirk Cousins back and he plays 80-90% of what he was, and we're still fucking good on offense. So it's like,
well, your worst case is better than my fucking worst case. I'll tell you that.
Saying. Like, normally I feel dejected, and I don't feel dejected right now. It's a nice feeling. You're like, we could have a bad year the rest of the year, and I don't feel dejected about it because I'm excited for the fucking future.
If our guy doesn't play, we still owe him $230 million. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So feel good about that. But are you ready to get the fuck out of here, man?
Yeah, let's do it, brother.
All right, guys, this is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That is Evo. We are back every week, especially all the way through the football season. We're going to be coming to you, giving you all of our picks. We'll talk college football. What other sports come up? We talked about some baseball today. NBA we'll probably talk a little bit about as we get closer to the in-season tournament. We're not going to talk about that anytime soon, though, because I still don't fucking understand it. But we appreciate you guys. We thank you. We're going to be back next week. But if you want to interact with the show, go to the Facebook group, Twitter at Lineman Lounge, TikTok, Instagram. Put out some random reels and shit out recently for Instagram and TikTok. But guys, thank you. We appreciate you every time that you come and spend some time with us. We cannot thank you enough. But we're going to get the fuck out of here and go watch some college football. So we'll see you next week. See you.